Hi friends. So today, just a few minutes ago, I talked to an event planner. An event planner! I know that sounds crazy to get that excited, but last spring was supposed to be my busiest spring speaking ever. And of course, everything was pushed. Nothing was canceled, that was good. To fall into this next spring of 2021. And now everything in the fall except for this one event has been pushed to the spring. So I wanted to do just a two-part series for you all who are either in my shoes and your speaking calendar was full and now it's empty, or maybe you wish your speaking calendar was full, but it's never been as full as you like. You know, we find ourselves in these situations for lots of different reasons. Right now, it's from COVID, something that is so completely beyond our control. So what do we do when we have messages burning on our heart, but no place, no stage to deliver it from? Well, the good news is that in the world that we live in, with the technology that we have, that we are able to still deliver the messages that's burning on our heart to the audience that God has given us online. It's an amazing thing. In fact, today I'm just sitting in my office with a simple tripod that I got at a thrift store years ago, and it has a little attachment that holds my phone now, and I can do all of this for you right from my office with my cell phone. Oh, and I bought this little external mic that makes the sound a little bit better. And maybe now that it's not tucked down, it will be even better. We'll see. So I wanted to just encourage you with some ways that you can deliver your messages even when your speaking calendar is empty. Several weeks ago, I was part of She Speaks, and it was just phenomenal. It went from an in-person event that it's always been to a virtual event. And at that event, I heard some really good advice. The advice was to speakers and writers. And this, I can't remember who delivered it. I think it was Lisa Turker, said, if you want to speak, then speak. Use speaking platforms like podcasting or video, which is what we're going to be talking about. And if you want to write, then write. Build a blogging audience that's used to writing. That blogging audience, one day when you write that book, that dream that's in your heart, those are the people who will buy your book. And if you want to speak, then those people who watch your videos or listen to your podcast, those are the ones who are going to book you to speak. So I want to talk specifically about speaking, but my last little platform that I'll talk about next time also has a writing portion of it. So writers, you hang in there too. So here's the reason we should be doing this. Number one, we have messages that are burning in our hearts, and we are stewards of those messages, whether a stage is presented to us or not presented to us. But also, why should we be speaking now, even when maybe we could be taking a break or sleeping later? I've been doing all of some of that too. Why should we be speaking now? Well, someday there will be events again. And when there are events again, we want those leaders, those event coordinators to have us on their mind, that they've seen us sometime during this quieter COVID time. And lots of people are looking at these platforms and listening to these platforms during this time because they have extra time. And we want them to have us top of mind, our message top of mind when they go to book someone again. So first today, I want to talk to you about podcasting. Now, I'm a co-host for a podcast myself. It's called Grit and Grace with my friend Sherry Gregory. Sherry kind of runs the podcast. I come alongside and have some duties, and I'm her co-host, and I absolutely love it. If you have been thinking about podcasting, I encourage you to dive right in. And let me give you some reasons to dive in. First of all, connecting with our voice is a powerful way to connect with others. Now, some of these notes will apply to all the different mediums I'm talking about. But podcasting allows us to leverage our voice. Most communication, scientists tell us, is nonverbal. Only 7% of what people perceive when we're talking to them is our actual words. Everything else is nonverbal. Of that 93%, 38% is what you hear. Things like intonation, emphasis, tone, volume, and emotion. Our voice is a very personal way to connect with people and to communicate. People choose what they want to listen to, and so to feel connected with the person that they are listening to is really important. Now, every podcast has there are different oh gosh, I'm losing my words. People have different kinds of styles in them. They have different, some are interview driven, some like Emily P. Freeman are carefully crafted and beautifully read with her amazing voice. And then, but Grit and Grace, for example, is Sherry and I, and we are known for a lot of banter. And I tell people that we handle serious topics with a lot of giggles. So we like to laugh, we like to have fun, and our listeners have told us it's as if they're in a coffee shop with us and they're the third person at the table. What a high compliment, because they have personally connected with us in a way that makes them wish that they were with us, and we wish they were with us too. We have so much fun doing what we do. People feel personally connected when they hear our voice. So that's the first thing. Second thing, it's an opportunity to reach a different demographic. Now, I know for Grit and Grace, we have found that our demographic is about the age that we are. A lot of them are empty nesters, not all. We had a new believer who is 17 years old who contacted us recently and said how much she loves Grit and Grace. But we would say, by and large, our demographic is probably 45 to mid-60s, that kind of age group. And so, but the beautiful thing is that millennials in particular are very tuned into podcasts. Podcasts are a way to create almost your own set of content, your own radio show, by subscribing to the things that you like to listen about. And of the people who listen to podcasts, 2/3 of them listen on their phones. So directly from something like iTunes or Stitchers or some of the other platforms for podcasts. The under 30 crowd does not listen to radio as much because they can personalize their podcast. So if you have a longing, a desire to reach a younger generation than your own, or some of you may be young that are listening, a podcast is a perfect way to do that. And next, the third reason that I love podcasting is it's actually a content generating machine. So one of the things that I am learning to do is to cross-purpose content. And so what I blog about, I might talk on the podcast about, or when I podcast about something, I often share it on my blog as well. And when Sherry and I went to write our co-authored book, Exhale, we had tons of content. So we made a spreadsheet of all the episodes, of who we had interviewed, what we had discussed. Our format, that was the word I was looking for earlier, our format for Grit and Grace is that we do an interview in one episode, and in the next episode, Sherry and I talk about the content from the author that we interviewed. And so we kind of expand on that, and we had lots and lots of ideas that we had recordings of, and here's the key, we had transcripts of. So we do transcripts of every single one of our episodes. There's some free ways to do that now, and there's some really cheap ways through rev.com. And so we actually had written content. It can't be taken from a transcript to the page. When you read transcripts, it's pretty rough. We communicate differently verbally than we do in final written form, but the ideas were there. We had tons of content that we included from the transcriptions in Exhale. And so you can leverage your voice. I dropped my notes, y'all. I'm going to get them back with my foot. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, sorry, this is highly professional here. We are professionals around here. Okay, let me get back. So, podcasting, 3 reasons to do it. It's very, very personal. It helps people to connect. Number 2, it connects with the new generation, millennials, those kind of mid-20s and up that you might want to reach. You might have a message that they need so desperately. A podcast is a way to reach them. And 3, it is a great content generating machine if you are blogging or podcasting on the regular. So that's one way to do it. The second way I want to pitch to you, I know a lot less about, but I'm going to give you a great resource, so hang on. It's to create a YouTube channel. Now, I use YouTube quite a bit. Like, I'm going to create this on my phone. I'm going to edit it on my phone, and then I'm going to upload it to YouTube, where then I can embed it in the blog for you. So I've used it in that way. So technically I have a channel, but I have not really worked my channel. On the other hand, at She Speaks, I got to hear from Christina Patterson, who is on our First 5 team. She's a phenomenal Christian leader and communicator. Christina did a session on YouTube and creating a YouTube channel that was just outstanding. So let me pass on some of her information to you. 6 out of 10 people prefer online video platforms to TV. Now, most of us that are listening, and definitely me, have next to 0 chance of ever having a TV show on a national network. But guess what? We don't have to wait for that permission or somebody to discover us anymore. We can create our own YouTube channel in a format and on a platform that people prefer to TV. 6 out of 10, so over half of people like to watch things on video. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine, only to Google. Something I didn't know. Absolutely extraordinary. And 1 billion hours of YouTube are watched a day. I find that mind-boggling. And YouTube is considered a social media platform, which is so beautiful because, again, it's a platform that allows us to interact. I'm going to talk about some Facebook platforms, but it allows us to interact with our audience in real time with comments and likes and all kinds of things. So here's the point that Christina made, is that YouTube actually has fewer users than lots of social media platforms. So when people do a search on YouTube, it's second only to Google, and you are much more likely, and she had some strategies about tagging things, you are much more likely to be randomly found by people. And you know that doesn't, with the algorithms on Facebook and things like that, we're not so likely to be randomly found by anyone. So YouTube is a powerful platform where you can use video to get your spoken message across. And we're speakers, so we shouldn't be afraid of things like video. Can we learn how to use them better? Obviously I can, from what I'm delivering today, but we can. And so what I'm going to put in the notes on the blog is that Christina actually has a webinar. She has a class on Teachable that called the YouTube Advantage, where she shares how she has created a YouTube channel with 17,000 subscribers. Girl knows what she's doing. So go over to take a look at the link that I'm going to put in the blog post underneath the video, and go take a look at Christina's class if you're interested in YouTube as a platform. So podcasting and YouTube, these are 2 ways to get our messages out if we are speakers who aren't currently speaking. Next week, I'm going to talk about, or next time, 2 weeks from now, I'm going to talk about 2 more. So don't miss it. Come back and join me.